realized afterwards, I'm like, you can wear the hat during the meeting. Why did I even put that on?
Pretty following.
Yeah, I was trying to go for that.
We are now
I mean, I
live
bought the
streaming.
hat, I might as
Everything
well
you say
wear
and
it.
do will be recorded. If I could get someone just to close that door all the way so it doesn't obscure the camera. Thank you.
Is there any way I'd be able to request an executive session?
Let's go start. I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion. Your wish is mine. Your wish is mine. Command?
You want to visit it?
If you want, it's yours.
Good, thank you. I was gonna ask about that.
No. 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. I ask that you please stand and face the flag for the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Ms. Terranova, would you please take roll call?
Mr. Hain, Ms. Monticelli. Here. Mr. Storr.
Here.
Mrs. Studley.
Here.
Mr. Tillman.
Here.
Mr. Zelek.
Here.
Chairman Blakely.
Here. Good evening. Thank you for coming to the October meeting of the Lancaster Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm going to start the meeting by making a motion to go into executive session to confer with legal counsel.
I'd like to second that motion.
Roll call vote?
All
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The live streaming will continue. Rob?
Do we have a motion to end executive session?
Oh, hold on a second.
No, in executive session, no.
The town clerk has announced that no decisions were made in executive session.
No decisions were made, no votes were taken in executive session.
Correct. All right, then you need a,
Do we have a motion to end executive session?
Motion to end the executive meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have 9 petitions on the agenda tonight. They will be heard one at a time, and the way to work tonight, in case you haven't been here before, we will read the legal notices of each petition. As your legal notice is written, is read, we ask that you please come up to the podium, introduce yourself, tell us something about your case. Ms. Turner, would you please read the legal notice for the first petition?
the first case considered by the Zoning Board of Appeals is the petition of Irene Trzebinski, 1536 East Road, Alden, New York, for 2 variances for the purpose of realigning a property line of an existing non-conforming lot on premises owned by the petitioner at 6388 Broadway Street, Lancaster, New York, to wit: A, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for realigning a property line of an existing non-conforming lot, increasing it to 150 feet in width. Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a minimum lot width of 300 feet if abutting a dedicated street. The petitioner therefore requests a 150-foot lot width variance. B, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for realigning a property line of an existing non-conforming lot, increasing it to 1.5 acres. Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a minimum lot area per dwelling unit of 3 acres. The petitioner therefore requests a 1.5 acre variance.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from 6388 Broadway here? Please just come on up sir, to the microphone if you would. Just tell us your name and address for the record.
Got a property on the Ransom and Broadway, and it was before 300 foot.
Sorry, your name, sir?
Richard Chechka,
Address?
227 Ransom.
Are you here for 6388 Broadway?
Yes.
Okay. Are you the property owner?
Yes.
Okay.
And could you spell?
And I want to know if I can make the smaller lots with it. 300 foot, it's you know.
Do you want to come up too? Okay, you're the owner?
Here's my recommendation, Rich. You'll need to make application to propose your lot sizes, and we can go through the process of making application to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And they can have that public hearing at that time for your specific property.
Okay, so what I gotta get those?
Well, we'll need to meet together first to identify what size lots you want to install, and then we can create those documents so we can make that application.
Okay.
The hearing tonight is for the application that was provided on the north side of the street. So if you want to comment on those, there's opportunity to do that after the owner speaks. But for your specific case, we'll have to create the application to appear in front of this board.
Okay.
So if you would like, I'd be happy to speak with you to set the appointment up. We could sit down, we can go through the particulars of that, and we can get you on that process.
Okay,
Okay?
okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are you 6388 Broadway?
Yes, I'm Irene Trzebinski, and I'm not sure what you want to ask of me, but we're asking that our 2 properties, 6394 and 6388, both have a frontage of 150 feet as opposed to 200 and 100. And we would like for 6388 to be ensured that it is a buildable residential lot. So we're basically looking to take 50 feet off of 6394 and put it on 6388.
So we're first, as I'm sure you know, we're doing it in 2 separate pieces. First we have to do 6388.
Okay.
We'll go to the board now for questions. Ms. Monticelli, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No. No, my question is actually about the other properties, so for this one, I have no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Stewart?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question's actually going to be to Matt because I've never seen something like this before. She owns both properties and wants to make it one? No?
No, perhaps it may be better served that we deal with both properties in reverse order, because what we're doing is we're going to adjust a non-conforming lot, make it more non-conforming by making it a smaller road frontage, and then considering adding that to another non-conforming lot, increasing it to a size that's less than what's designed in the AR district.
Less unconforming?
So there's two lots, one's 200 frontage and one's 100.
That's correct.
The minimal building frontage right now is how much?
300 feet.
So they're trying to take the 200 and the 100 and make them 150, make them both the same size.
Make each of them 150, correct? And then create a square footage area that's less than the standard that's allowed in the AR district, which is 3 acres. So as opposed to starting off with the lower number of the vacant lot, it's best to start with the larger number, 6394. Weigh that on its merits, and that'll determine whether or not the second lot could be considered.
Okay. And with this, the property line would go parallel, it wouldn't create a flag staff, any?
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
just double checking, making sure I'm understanding things right. Okay. I have no questions unless you want me to make a motion that we start with petition number 2, because I do what he says when he's right, and that sounds right to me.
Can we do that?
That makes sense.
Okay, so we'll move, can we just,
I'd like to make a motion to
do we need
start.
to table this right now? Okay, that we
Just
ready?
table it.
So we'll just make, we'll go to number 2, if you would read that.
Sure. Second case considered by the zoning board of appeals is that of the petition of Irene Trzebinski, 1536 Eastwood Road, Alden, New York, for 2 variances for the purpose of realigning a property line of an existing non-conforming lot on premises owned by the petitioner at 6394 Broadway Street, Lancaster, New York, to wit: A variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for realigning a property line of an existing non-conforming lot, reducing it to 150 feet in width. Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a minimum lot width of 300 feet if abutting a dedicated street. The petitioner therefore requests a 150-foot lot width variance. B, a variance of the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for realigning a property line of an existing non-conforming lot, reducing it to 1.5 acres. Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a minimum lot area per dwelling unit of 3 acres. The petitioner therefore requests a 1.5 acre variance.
Okay, so now in essence, we're looking at the lot 6394, which is currently 200 feet frontage, and you want to reduce it to 150.
Correct,
200 is non-conforming, and 150 is even more non-conforming.
I guess.
Okay.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. What's the purpose of doing this? You own both lots, are you attempting to sell one, or are you trying to develop it?
Well,
What's the point of making?
the 6388 is a vacant lot. We have 2 separate tax bills.
Yep.
So we just made the assumption we were going to eventually, at some point, potentially build a residential structure there. And then I pulled out the survey because it had been years that we owned it, and I realized I wanted to see where the survey was, and I realized that 6394 had 200 feet of frontage. And what would be, let's see, the west side of the house is like property that's next to 6388
just looking at
has
the map,
50
sorry.
feet that really is kind of useless. So we just thought if we could split it half and half, there's enough room between 2 parcels, and that new structure would have more room and more, because I think the offsets are 10 or 15 feet off the property line. I can't remember, that's what I think I was told. That way we'd have more room to put a residential structure up.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and just straight down, we're not changing anything in the length. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no further questions.
I do have another question for Matt. Matt, how long has this been zoned AR and more so had the 300-foot requirement for, was it just rezoned over the past few years, or has this been zoned this way?
Zoning map amendment and a zoning code were adopted in 2020, December of 2020.
So the reason I bring that up is none of the lots over there are conforming.
That's correct.
And even on the south side of Broadway, is that also zoned AR?
It is also AR.
Those lots are, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think they're mostly 100 feet frontage.
That's correct. Those were recently divided through subdivision approval at the time where there was still the 100-foot by 1 acre requirement for an AR district lot.
So that was done prior to December 20.
That was done prior to the zoning change. And, you know, the whole adoption was in response to the 2018 comprehensive plan, which was formalized in May of that year.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have. Ms. Dudley, any questions or comments?
My question is just for the 6394. There's currently a residential structure
Yes.
on there? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And is that, do you live in that structure or own that? It doesn't look like you live there,
I
but,
was there at one time, but I'm not there now.
okay. So the people that live there, even though you own the land, are they aware of this change and are they
They're tenants, and he's moving.
tenants? Okay, thank you.
He's actually bought a house.
Okay,
He doesn't care.
okay.
Mr. Tillman, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if they did decide to build on that empty lot, the vacant lot, I mean, is that going to have to get rezoned then, or are they going to just have to get another variance for being non-conforming?
No, single-family residence is a permitted use in the AR district.
Okay, all right. I have no further questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zilak, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions.
Being that we switched around, Ms. Marcelli, do you want to go again, or now, when we started, we were doing 6388?
I had a question about 6394, but Ms. Dudley asked it for me, so I'm okay with that, and I have no questions about 6388. Thank you.
Anybody in the audience would like to address this matter? Any questions? Hearing none, we would entertain a motion from the board.
I'd like to make a motion. Second. Whereas the zoning board of appeals of the town of Lancaster have made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief sought is not substantial, that the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is self-created but not to the extent necessary to preclude granting of the area variance relief sought, that this board is taking into consideration the benefit to the applicants if the variance relief sought is granted as weighted against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant, that within the intent and purposes of this ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief.
Thank you, Mr. Storr. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Storr, second by Ms. Dudley. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans?
Yes,
Mr. Zelik?
Yes.
Chairman Michael?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, so that has been approved. That was number 2, which was 6394 Broadway. Now, do we need, I think we've heard enough for 6388. I think that,
Can I make a motion for the first applicant of the day for 6388 Broadway?
sure.
Whereas the zoning board of the zoning board of appeals of the town of Lancaster has made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief sought is not substantial, that the proposed area variance relief sought will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is self-created but not to the extent necessary to preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought, that this board is taking into consideration the benefit to the applicant if the variance relief sought is granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant, that within the intent and purpose of this ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief.
Motion by Mr. Storr. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Dudley. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
yes.
Mr. Zelik?
Yes.
Chairman Michael?
Yes. Congratulations, your variances have both been approved.
Thank you so much.
Please stop at the building department before ever starting construction.
Okay.
Next on the agenda tonight is 32 Fieldstone. Ms. Turner, would you please read the legal notice?
Third case considered by the zoning board of appeals is that of the petition of Robert Chadwick, 32 Fieldstone Lane, Lancaster, New York, for one variance for the purpose of installing a shed on the premises owned by the petitioner at 32 Fieldstone Lane, Lancaster, New York, to wit, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning section 14 subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for installing a shed 31 feet from the front property line in a required front yard. Chapter 400 zoning section 14 subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires that an accessory structure may not protrude into a front yard. The petitioner therefore requests a 4-foot variance.
Hey, please give us your name and address for the record.
Robert Chadwick, 32 Fieldstone Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick. Please tell us what you're looking to do.
I think earlier this summer, June meeting, I had a variance for a fence. I had that moved out, and I'm moving, I tore down the plastic shed. I'm going to build a wood shed, but now that's too close to the street, and I'm on a corner lot, so I'm requesting a variance to be able to build that shed.
Okay. Questions from the board? Mr. Storr?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions.
Mr. Tillmans?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Zelak. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions.
Ms. Monticelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chadwick, is the new shed going to be in the same place as the old shed?
No, it's going to be like 10 feet further out from the house.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But still within inside the fence?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
still not visible from the street?
Correct.
I have no other questions or comments. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Whereas the zoning board of appeals of the town of Lancaster has made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to the nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief is not substantial, that the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is self-created but not to the extent necessary to preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought. This board has taken into consideration the benefit to the applicants if the variance relief sought is granted, as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. That within the intent and purposes of this ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief. And that's it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tillmans. I'm sorry. Motion by Ms. Tillmans, second by Ms. Dudley. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli,
Yes,
Mr. Storr,
Yes.
Ms. Studley,
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans,
Yes.
Mr. Zelik,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman Michael.
Yes. Congratulations, your variance has been approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could ask for your patience, we're having difficulty with our permitting software. We could issue applications, signature, receive payment. We just can't upgrade it to an actual building permit, but we'd be happy to get ahead of that. And then once the software is put back online, we could email you the placard and the actual building permit.
Okay.
If you needed to get started this weekend or Friday, if you made those plans.
Okay.
All right? Appreciate your patience.
Do I just come into the...
The building department, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, number 4 is 3725 Bowen Road. Ms. Turner, would you please read the legal notice?
Fourth case considered by the zoning board of appeals is that of the petition of Tammy Santana, 3725 Bone Road, Lancaster, New York, for one variance for the purpose of adding roof extensions to the south, north, and west sides of an existing pole barn on premises owned by the petitioner at 3725 Bone Road, Lancaster, New York, to wit, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for adding 1,464 square feet of roof extensions to the south, north, and east sides of an existing pole barn. Chapter 400 zoning section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a maximum accessory structure of 1,250 square feet. The petitioner therefore requests a 1,464 square foot variance.
Okay, before we take this, before we hear this petition hearing, I would like to just turn it over to, this petition was before us last November, and it was denied. And there's certain parameters that we need to follow right now, the second time it comes. I'm going to ask our legal counsel to just discuss that.
Yeah, so since this was here last year, the same application, we need a unanimous vote from all the board members to rehear the case tonight. And then also any motion that is made, either way, would need a unanimous vote from all of the members.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we rehear the case.
I'll second.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Mr. Studley? Ms. Studley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Mr. Zellick?
Yes.
Chairman Michaely?
Yes. Okay. Is that you? Welcome back. Please give us your name and address for the record. Motion was by...
Second.
So just to be clear, so you realize, I know you were here last year.
Yes.
And just, the vote this time, in order to be passed, has to be unanimous from the board.
Sure. Thank you. So my name is Carolina Samarco. I reside at 56 Kristen Court, Lancaster, New York, 14086. Tonight I am speaking on behalf of my mom and my recently deceased father that owned 3725 Bowen Road in regards to requesting a 1,464 square foot variance of lean-tos on the existing pole barn.
Okay. Questions, start with Ms. Studley?
I don't have a question for you, actually. I do want to mention that I did go out to the property yesterday. Unfortunately, the homeowner wasn't able to answer the door, but however, reached out to me and we were able to have a conversation about the project today. So I wanted that for the record, that I did have a conversation about that. My question actually is for Matt. It was mentioned in our conversation that you have been out there, and as some of the correspondence we have received has mentioned a business being run out of this property. My question to you is, have you been out there to check the property, and are you able to confirm or deny if a business is being run out of this property?
Well, in frequent passing through the property, we always take a glance over at previous complaints just to verify we're still into compliance. But I can say that I have not noticed the activity there. We still see the vehicle with the advertising at the Erie Street location. So, things are still as they were at the last hearing.
Thank you. No further questions at this time. I may have some more after everybody else goes.
Absolutely. Mr. Tillmans?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I know you're putting the lean-tos on all three sides. I know that's not typically the norm on a pole barn that you see. I have a lot of friends that have pole barns. You see pole barns, they typically may have it on one or two sides. So, having the three sides on there seems a little excessive. I don't know, but I guess if you can speak to that a little bit, why you're looking to do it on all three sides.
Sure. So I can't speak on behalf of my dad, but I know his goal overall for the property and for the building was for entertainment use for friends and family. I have pictures here for you guys that I can give them to you of the inside of the pole barn. I know that's not something that is being a request of, but just so you guys can see for entertainment purposes what's in there. So I believe his goal overall on each side was to have the side towards the pool was to be for mostly entertaining, like a kitchen, outdoor kitchen area potentially. And then the back side was to be for, our lawnmower storage and, just lawn care things out there. Then the left side, currently if anybody has drove past the property, there is a white trailer right now that has stored my dad's motorcycles and just recreational vehicles. So I believe that my dad was a very big outdoorsman, and a month before he passed away, he actually purchased a side-by-side vehicle to use at friends' properties that he hunts at, and so to store those recreational vehicles is overall the goal that my dad wanted, and for us to use the structure for entertainment purposes for friends and family.
No further questions?
Thank you, Mr. Toombs. And just as a reminder, or to be clear, as a reminder to those who weren't here last year, the work was already done. So even when you were here last year, what we're looking to, the work was already been done, correct?
No, partial of the structure was up, and during that time, the project was shut down.
But the roof was never put on.
No, never been put on. No,
Framing.
just framing, but not of all of the request.
Sure, thank you.
It looked like it was only on the left-hand side. I
Yeah.
could have, maybe I didn't go around it. It was by the
That is
property.
correct.
But it looked
Yeah.
like it was on the left-hand side was framed, but not the right-hand side yet.
Correct.
If I may, my name is Bradley Smarko. I'm actually Carlena's husband. It's just the post. There's no trusses or anything like that that's up around any of it. So ultimately, the post went in when the contract was done. So.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Zula, questions?
Just curious why you're not putting anything inside the pole barn?
We have lots of, you mean like
Like the side-by-side
yeah.
and all the outdoor stuff. Why wouldn't that be inside from the elements?
So I believe it was for, the inside was for like entertainment use. So like, I'll show you in here, we have a sitting area, dining area, we have like pinball machines. My dad had like a commercial popcorn and slushy machine. So it was really for entertaining. Like just recently we put a TV in there for the Bills games and things like that. So I think truthfully, the inside was to be used for like if, we used to host like a Halloween party every year. So just a bigger structure to have those. And it's heated inside, so that's why.
No further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Monticelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that you had a picture.
Yeah, I'll share those with you guys. Absolutely. There's backside Steve. Just how my printer worked, I'm sorry.
Okay. And while those are coming around, I just mentioned for the record that we have gotten some correspondence, both pro and con, about this project. Two neighbors from Old Schoolhouse Road 19 and 11 object to the granting of this variance. One neighbor across the street on Bowen Road is in favor of it, and two Lancaster residents who are not neighbors are familiar with the project and are in favor of our approving.
Just, if I can just interrupt 1 second, I believe there should be two individuals on Bowen Road that were in favor of the project. I just wanted to make sure that you guys had both of those individual letters.
As we're looking for that, and we did have letters from both sides, I know that. As we're looking for that, so this is the interior of the pole barn, which is not really what we're voting on tonight. Not really what we're discussing. What we're discussing is the addition to the pole barn.
Correct. I do know that some of the individuals that were con to the project were concerned that inside the pole barn, and that's what the lean-tos were going to be used for.
Okay.
And the lean-tos will be open. It's not going to be an enclosed structure. I'm sorry, I don't know if I mentioned
Yeah,
that.
no, okay, good, thank you.
We have a physical letter from a Carroll Church.
Yep.
Okay. And we did receive several emails, but I don't think any of them were in favor, but I'd have to go through the emails. I didn't print them out.
I do have another letter. I think it's from 3728 Bowen Road as well. That was in favor. I can provide that if needed.
3732.
3732 we have.
Yeah, that's the one I just said. I think that's Carroll Church.
There are three in here, right? Carroll Church.
Yeah.
Manager
Three in the
Crowley.
packet, and then we got some emails.
Okay.
So you guys don't have 3728? It was a handwritten letter. I think the gentleman's name was Nikolai. No, okay. I confirmed with the secretary yesterday that it was.
Email. Yeah, we did. We were getting several emails this week.
Okay.
Every day.
Okay.
So we knew.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sterling?
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have one for Matt. Matt, you mentioned an Erie street address. Is that the official location of the Dan the Townman business now?
That's where the location of the vehicle is being stored, and I assume the operation is happening out of that facility.
Okay,
I don't mean to rudely interrupt, but it does have relevance to that. I did have pictures to share with you guys too of where the work vehicle is stored on Erie and the inside of the van to show you guys that the material that we are using for jobs is on this van. If you guys would like to see it, it's here. I can share with you guys. So.
Just to state for the record, Dan the Tile Man business is not owned by Tammy Santana anymore as of the 1st of 2023. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
It's not owned by the family?
No, it's not owned by my father either.
Okay. Mr. Stroh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, my condolences on the passing of your father. It's always hard to do that. Regarding this, so I'm assuming these are friends of yours that wrote the letters, because I never had someone drive by my house and then randomly write a letter saying, hey, I wish they would get this project done.
Correct, yep. Friends or family individuals that I work with that pass back and forth.
So, did business ever or at one point in time occur there? Or was there, where are these stories coming from, the letters of objection where they say that a business is being ran out of there? Or at one point was? Were people meeting there in the morning and driving to the Erie location? Was there something going on there? I don't think neighbors generally make up random stories of businesses existing where they don't. Especially where, if you Google Dan the Tile Man, it lists the Bowen address as the address.
So I believe that has been corrected since the new owners have taken over. But there, at one point, I believe the workers used to meet at Dan at 3725 and go to Erie or to the job sites. There was never any work being done out of that, but all the employees would typically, and I should say all, a couple of the employees, because it's a small family-owned business, what used to be, would meet there and you know, individualized go to wherever is needed.
Okay, just for your information, as of about 3 minutes ago on Angie's list, it's still listed as Bowen Road as the official.
I don't believe Angie's List is in business anymore, because we used to
When
do
I Google
business.
it, that's the first result that
sure.
comes up.
Sure.
But irregardless, so with your project, you want to essentially double the size of this building. It's already a pretty big building in a residential area.
Correct.
I understand that you want to entertain. I understand that you want to have a covered area next to the pool. What's the point of 3 sides regarding the back? Like, this is you're asking to build a massive building. Well, entertaining, I do that. I could have 10 people under a 10 by 13 patio, covered patio. You're asking for over 1,400 feet.
The back roof structure, so this is just the accessory structure. We're just speaking in regards to the roof. So if the right side towards the pool side, that would be considered the south side. So the south side would be just for simple entertaining, patio furniture, when it's raining and it's nice summer days. The back portion of it would be for the things that people typically don't want everyone to see. So whether you have family or friends coming over and your lawnmower is sitting on the side, why wouldn't you rather have it in the back where no one can see it, such as an actual shed or things like that? We don't put it inside because we entertain inside as well. At the end of the day, we're just looking to put roofing, so an extra 264 square feet of roof coverage to complete the project and aesthetically make it pleasing for everyone.
So I've stopped at the property. I haven't walked up it. Matt, you've been to the property. Does the current building fit all code regulations, everything?
The existing structure does meet those standards in the AR district at 1,250 square feet.
It's not over 16 feet tall?
No.
Or any of that?
No.
And where the studs are placed into the concrete on the pool side, that looks approximately 10 feet. That's far enough away.
It's far enough from the water's edge to allow access and egress.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time, but I'm probably gonna have more later.
Thank you. One more time. So right now, there's no business. Is there a business being conducted at the property?
No, sir.
Okay.
My career is in human resources. I am an ethical and honest person, I can stand before you and definitely tell you that 100% there is no business being conducted out of that home.
Thank you.
Yep.
Last year when you were here, we were torn, the board was split, and we didn't approve it, as you know. I had, at one point, we made a motion to approve it with the condition that you would not ever enclose it. You're still saying that? If this board was to make a motion again, I don't know that it would, but if this board was to make a motion and pass it, that your walls would never, you would never enclose those walls?
Absolutely,
That's something
100%.
you
I'm
still go
standing
along.
in my dad's shoes of just what he wanted originally, yes.
Okay. Do we have more board questions?
Not yet.
Yes?
I do. There was a Dan the Town Man truck in the parking area when I was over there earlier.
Yeah, so that was my dad's personal vehicle, and we've kept that for, and you may, and I shared this with Melissa this afternoon, you may still see that coming in and out of the driveway. My parents have 2 dogs. My mom has 2 dogs at home. She uses that vehicle to take them to the park, to take them to doggy daycare, strictly for that use. So you will and continue to see that we are not getting rid of that vehicle. So
now my dogs are going to want their own car too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe they could start driving themselves.
Okay, is there anyone from the audience who would like to address this matter?
Yes.
Miss? If you could just step aside.
Sure.
Please give us your name and address and just ask
Sure,
if you
my
please-
name is Sharon Bobat, and I live at 3733 Bowen Road in Lancaster. My property is, as you're facing the Santanas on the left. We have made many calls, we have sent emails, we have taken pictures. The neighbors are really up in arms. If you drive by in the morning, many times, you'll see Dan the Tile Man truck, things being loaded from the so-called entertainment center. Also, they have a 2-car attached garage. Why couldn't the lawnmower be put in the garage? Why does it have to be where the neighbors have to put up with it? They have a trailer that hides the junk that goes on the left-hand side of the building. They cleaned it up a little bit because of the meeting. My neighbors and I have gone by many times and seen the truck there in the morning, in the afternoon. I'm an honest person too. I'm actually holding a religious item. This is totally ridiculous. Why in the world would they need a building of that size for one person that lives there? They have a full basement. We are the neighbors. This area is zoned farm residential. They lied in the past. The business was told to remove the truck. That's when they moved to Erie Street. They also were in violation of the building permit when they were putting up the sides. They were told to take them down. We gave them their time for grieving. Our heart goes on to it. I know it's very hard to lose a loved one. We waited, we saw things, we tried to give them their time to grieve. But now we're getting to the point where we're upset. Our property values are going down. We have to put up with the junk. Thank goodness they do have the stockade fence now, because in the past, when they brought the trash from the building sites, it blew on our property. I thank you for this opportunity, and please do the right thing. Don't take the quality of life away from our neighborhood.
Pardon me, ma'am, before you leave, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you please repeat your address?
Sure, 3733 Bowen Road.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Anyone else would like to address the board? Hearing none, any more board questions? Is there someone else? I'm sorry, sir, come on up. Please state your name and address.
William Stachura, 19 Old Schoolhouse Road.
Thank you.
On October 8th, my wife and I submitted a letter to the town clerk, Terra Nova, and listed our objections to the granting of this variance. Tonight, I'd like to stress a few points that we raised. The accessory structure would not be consistent with residential or agricultural use permitted in this zone. The existing structure continues to be used for storage of equipment and materials for construction and renovation business, with continued activity in early morning and late afternoon by workers for their commercial business, which previously resulted in a stop work order. If approved, the total structure would be over 2,700 square feet, which is more than what is permitted for residential use and would have a negative impact on adjacent property values and the neighborhood. The partial structure erected without a permit was not dismantled and removed. Therefore, we ask that the zoning board not grant this variance, that the existing pieces of a roof extension be disassembled and removed, and that this property be monitored for continued commercial activity. I know that neighbors on Old Schoolhouse Road also object to the granting of this variance. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Matt, are there any outstanding violations on the property?
Correct? No. No, we don't. I'm looking at the parcel card now. The only violation was from 2021. It's left open just to monitor any business operating out of that facility.
Matt, I have a question for you. Last year, when they came before us and were unsuccessful, were they ordered to take down the abutments, or were they not?
They were, at the time of the hearing, there was a stop work order in place. It's still in place.
So it was just stop work order?
It was a stop work order until they could resolve the issue. After the hearing, unfortunately, there are things that happened that were out of everybody's control, and honestly, it had gone into winter. Again, that grieving time had to happen. We weren't about to force anything during that time. Earlier in the spring, there was some communication.
So my question was, they were never ordered to take them down?
They were never ordered to take it down, but again, that stop work order was in place based on the violation of work without a building permit as it stands today.
And the junk that is on the side of the pole barn is the lumber for the
trusses, everything.
Yeah, and that's what was cleaned up because we wanted to make sure it was covered through the winter months as well to not be damaged.
I can verify that because I did walk close enough to see that it was the stuff for the pole barn for the trusses and stuff like that. It was a bunch of lumber and building materials for that.
We actually printed out an aerial photo showing the property, and then also...
Would you please just come up to the microphone?
Sorry. We actually printed out an aerial photo outlining our property, or Tammy's property, showing Old Schoolhouse Road. And you can clearly see that with the stockade fence, the gentleman at 19 Old Schoolhouse, it's nearly impossible to see anything that's going on at the property based on the stockade fence. So in reality, the only people that would have any objections would be the people directly across the street.
Could we see that?
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Stewart?
Okay. My final question is, with all there's reasons that there are zoning laws in place to prevent buildings from being built too big, to prevent buildings being built that aren't with the character of the neighborhood. The neighborhood appears to not be in favor of this mostly. So I want to know, what do you intend to do to remedy, or at least say, why are they so against you? What happened to make it this way? It's not mine nor this board's job to attempt to fix neighbor disputes, but one of the things that we look for is that it is going to be, I need to weigh the benefits of the applicant versus the welfare of the neighborhood. So I'm 50-50. Convince me why the benefit to you outweighs whatever negative thing is I'm hearing.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that actually property value increase because the assessment would increase. So therefore, I'm sorry that the people who object think that their property value would actually decrease, because the selling price of Tammy's home, if she ever decided to sell, because it would be a wanted home, because it's nice, it's private, it's got the stockade fence, a beautiful pole barn for entertaining, and a beautiful pool. So with that being said, if Tammy's house sells for more money, then so will the neighbors. But again, the neighbors may not see that as of currently, because they do not plan on selling anytime soon. But if you currently look at the market within the housing community and the interest rates, if anyone should be thankful, it should be the children or whoever they leave the house to, because that property value, being the neighbors, will have then increased because the nice and cleanliness of the property at 3725 Bowen Road.
And I also believe 3800 Bowen Road had requested back in August a 3,100 square foot structure.
Is that the one at the curve?
Yep.
Yeah.
Christmas tree?
Yeah, up of the hill.
And it just looks so great driving past it that, it makes it really exciting. I know it's not in the direct neighborhood of however far you guys go out to ask neighbors and things like that, but it's not exact, but it's something very similar that we're looking for. And me driving past that, it's exciting to see that, how great Bowen Road has been looking. So, and even to their previous structure that they had, I believe it was a fire, so yeah.
The neighbor across the street at 3728 Bowen Road, who you did not see their letter of four, I should say.
I did find.
Okay.
We have
Awesome.
the emails.
It's an email form.
The people behind you are going to see it. The people across the street aren't seeing the structure.
Sure.
That was my
And it was funny because as we spoke to them, that, of course they were in favor of the, roofing structure to be placed on for the lean-tos on all three sides. They said it's absolutely crazy that, you wouldn't want to spruce up your property and make your property look nice, because if you saw their home, which I don't have any pictures of, they just redid their whole house. So they said if you look at the cleanliness and how aesthetically pleasing it looks as you drive down the road, they said we would be absolutely crazy to impose that. And that's why we're willing to write the letter for you.
The one at 3800 Bowen, which we approved just a few months ago, it was a replacement of a structure that had been burned, that had a fire. But, it speaks to the fact that this would not be setting precedent by allowing a structure of that size in that area.
Understood. I just saw how similar that the colors were.
What's that?
That property was a couple acres, wasn't it?
About three, yeah. Strangely
that's a
shaped
bigger
though, but it was a bigger lot, but it's strangely shaped in that
And you can still see it.
that barn you can see clearly from the
Yes.
road.
And it looks sharp. It looks good.
Yeah. So I hope that answered your question, Mr. Storr.
Thank you very much.
You have more?
No, so, Samarco?
Yes.
Is that it? Correct. Just to summarize here, the building is to code, the barn is to code.
Correct.
You want to add roofing to three sides of it.
Correct.
The barn is being used strictly for entertainment, not for any business of any kind.
Nope.
The purpose of enclosing with a roof the three sides of the barn is to have an outdoor entertainment area.
And provide coverage structure for, even the trailer that's enclosed to provide coverage for that as well.
Okay.
Which, that was just moved because we had the blacktop sealed.
Okay.
That was moved forward, so it wasn't moved to hide anything or anything of that nature. It was actually towards the back left of the property, which can't be seen at all by anyone on Schoolhouse Road, nor the actual lady next door unless she sees it from the front of the street.
Okay. All right, so there's no business being conducted there. If we were to approve the roof, it wouldn't have anything to do with business being conducted there anyway.
No,
You know what I mean? It's two separate issues.
Right, yeah, and I think, bringing up the business is very irrelevant because the owner of the business that lived at 3725 Bowen Road has since passed away. And that's that.
Yeah, they don't,
So I understand, once again, my condolences, but your dad has passed away. Dan the Tile Man no longer owns the business. You are not friends with the owner, cousins, family member. You sold it to somebody else, correct? It is not being ran by anyone in your family or any thought of process of by your family.
It's not by, it's a friend, yes, but it's not.
Okay, not someone that lives there, not
No,
someone that.
no. My mom is the only one that
Not like
resides
his
at.
brother or cousin or something like
No,
that?
my mom is the only one that resides at 3725 Bowen Road. If you guys drive past every single day, my sister and I are there every single day. So you see our vehicles there. You can pretty much say that we live there, but we really don't reside. My mom's just lonely, so we're there every day with the grandchildren and to enjoy the pool. The whole summer we were there. Enjoy the pool, the playground, the barn, everything, so.
Which again is fenced in.
So, back to my summary, we, as Mr. Storr said, have to weigh the benefit to you as opposed to the welfare of the neighborhood. I think our concern has been that the neighbors have been objecting. But it seems to me that the objections are mostly based on the suspicion that there was a business being run out of there. Again, if we approve this roof, it has nothing to do with whether or not a business were there anyway. Matt is keeping an eye on things. The business has been sold. It's operating on Erie Street now. We do have, let's see, two letters from Bowen Road residents asking us to approve, 2 letters from other Lancaster residents asking us to approve, 2 letters from people in Old Schoolhouse asking us to deny, and one, the lady who spoke tonight is on Bowen Road, and she's asking us to deny. Have I missed anything?
There's a gentleman from Old Schoolhouse who asked to deny tonight.
I'm sorry, yes, and his letter is one that I was...
Okay, oh, right.
And I think we should add that Matt has been going out there, or has at least driven by there, and has keeping an eye on if...
Sorry, I thought I said that.
I will invite you guys to the home on behalf of my mom, inside the house, the actual house, so you guys can see there's no activity of business there, along with the pole barn, if anybody is willing, would like to. And I'm sorry that my mom missed you yesterday, Melissa, so.
Thank you. I'd like to, if no one has anything else to add, I'd like to make a motion. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Lancaster has made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief is not substantial, that the proposed variance relief will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is self-created but not to the extent necessary to preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought, that this board has taken into consideration the benefit to the applicants if the variance relief sought is granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant, that within the intent and purposes of this ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief. And I would add a condition that the walls of the structure will never be completed, that will be enclosed, that walls will never, that the structure will never be enclosed. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Monticelli. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Ms. Studley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans?
Yes.
Mr. Zellick?
Yes.
Chairman Michaely?
Yes.
Yeah.
Been approved.
Thank you.
Well, make sure you do stop in. I always tell everyone to make sure you stop in with the building department, although there is software issues.
After the software issues are resolved, please. Thank you.
Make sure you get the permit, do all that after all this. Thank you. Next up is 5250 Genesee Street. Ms. Terranova, would you please read the legal notice?
fifth case considered by the Zoning Board of Appeals is that of the petition of Martin Quality Quick Signs, 1380 French Road, Depew, New York, for 2 variances for the purpose of replacing an existing non-conforming pole sign on premises owned by Eric Putnam at 5250 Genesee Street, Bowmansville, New York, to wit, A, a variance from requirements of Chapter 400 zoning, Section 30, subsection F, 2C3 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for replacing an existing non-conforming pole sign in a multifamily mixed-use zoning district. Chapter 400 zoning, Section 30, subsection F2C3 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires 1 pole sign for each individual building, not a part of a multiple development, as defined and regulated, shall be permitted in the LCGC, LI, and GI districts only. The petitioner therefore requests a variance to allow a pole sign in an MFMU zoning district. B, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning, Section 30, subsection F, 2C3B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for a pole sign with 6-foot dimension from finished grade. Chapter 400 zoning, Section 30, subsection F2C3B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires such signs shall not exceed 25 feet in height, nor shall the lowest part of the sign be less than 8 feet from finished grade of a paved walk, drive, or parking area. The petitioner therefore requests a 2-foot variance.
Thank you, Mr. Arnott. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Payne from Quality Quick Signs, 1380 French Road.
Eric Putnam, I'm the owner of the salon, ESP Salon, 5250 Genesee Street.
Thanks. Please tell us about your project.
Well, there's currently, if you've driven past, there's a pole sign there. It's 2x4 wooden signs with like 3 old beat-up illuminated cabinets. And we'd just like to replace that with a new sign that's actually one cabinet instead of 3 separate, and also with steel posts. And to give it, it will be new, be finished, and look a lot sharper. It won't fall down.
And I want to add too that it's part of the Erie County storefront revitalization. I won the grant for that, so they had worked with us on designing the sign.
Great. Where did you start? Where did we start last time?
I think you started with me last time.
Someone's questions?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So the sign itself, similar dimensions?
Yeah.
With the existing sign?
Exactly.
Any taller or?
No,
No.
it'd be 6 by 6 is going to be the same. I think the only difference is that those are 3 individual signs,
Right.
whereas this will be 1 complete cabinet.
Gotcha. This might be a little more condensed.
Yeah.
No further questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zulak.
I have a question. Why can't you go up 2 feet to meet the code?
Well, I believe that we could have to get a 14-foot post instead of 12-foot, which would add to the cost. And currently, I believe it's over 6 feet where it is now.
Right, well, you want a grant for a new sign.
Right, yeah.
So a new sign could be the code.
But there's also financial limitations to the amount of the grant.
Can I add, this sign has been here since 1999. It's been up for 24 years now, so the way it is.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Monticelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one question. Is this one business, the salon, and the SP Salon
Yes,
and
it
Spa
is.
that offers? Okay.
Yeah, we
All right.
have it in the whole building.
Yeah, the current sign is confusing because it looks like it could be 3
Right,
different
yeah.
businesses. So this should clear that up.
It'll clean it right up.
Okay. So you plan to use the existing poles?
No, we're going to replace everything, exactly. The posts right now are currently wood, which are
Okay.
rotting, and the way that the cabinet signs are connected together is with 2x4s. This will be a complete steel post with a aluminum cabinet, LED internally illuminated sign
Okay.
base.
So Mr. Zelak's question was, why don't you just raise it up 2 feet? You said that that would require 14-foot walls,
Well,
but
when we originally went and measured the current sign, we based it off of that. And then when we supplied the quote for the Erie County to approve the price, that's what we based it on.
I see.
So they've actually approved a price. So any price adjustment, they would not approve because it's a limited budget.
That makes sense. Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions.
I have a question for Matt. Is it, the current sign is non-conforming? Is that because code changed since the sign was erected, or did something happen to the sign over years that became non-conforming and you're done with that?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question.
No?
This property prior to the zoning change was residential commercial office space. At the time, the sign code prohibited pole signs in the residential commercial office district. And in 2003, a building permit for a pole sign was issued for the specific sign. The design standards are anywhere between 8 feet above the ground and 25 feet tall. Again, not permitted in the residential commercial district, but the permit was issued as a pole sign. It seemed to be the practice of the day.
Yep.
As you know, this board and previous boards have had to review replacement signs with almost the identical requests for relief. And for future hearings, and hopefully with the future amendments to our zoning, our sign code is archaic and really needs to be updated to meet the current trends and standards of the industry.
Okay, so you always have the answers, even. Ms. Dudley, any questions?
I do not have any questions, Mr. Chair.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak to this matter? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Now I've lost the sheet, thank you.
Just keep passing down.
Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Lancaster has made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief is not substantial, that the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect on or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is not self-created, that this board has taken into consideration the benefit to the applicants if the variance relief sought is granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant.
Thank you. Do we have a
second?
Motion by Ms. Monticelli, second by Mr. Storr. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans?
Yes.
Mr. Zelak?
Yes.
Chairman Michael?
Yes. Your variance has been approved. Please make sure to stop in at the building department before doing any work.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.
Good night.
Thank you.
Next up, 6232 Genesee Street. Ms. Turner, would you please read the legal notice?
The sixth case considered by the Zoning Board of Appeals is the petition of Tim Frankelmont, 6232 Genesee Street, Lancaster, New York, for 2 variances for the purpose of constructing a residential accessory structure on premises owned by the petitioner at 6232 Genesee Street, to wit: A variance from the requirement of Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for a 19-foot, 6-inch tall residential accessory structure. Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires the maximum building height for an accessory of 16 feet. The petitioner therefore requests a 3-foot, 6-inch variance. B, the variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for a 1,262 square foot residential accessory structure. Chapter 400 zoning Section 13, subsection C, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires the maximum accessory structure size of 1,250 square feet. The petitioner therefore requests a 12 square foot variance.
Thank you. Sir, would you please state your name and address for the record?
Timothy Frank Lamont, 6232 Genesee Street.
Thank you. Please tell us about your project.
I decided to build a barn, and I picked 40 by 32 because I've had a big barn before, and that's a good size. It's actually smaller than the last one I had, but I just picked that size. I like the high ceiling. I wanted a 14-foot ceiling. That's why we have 19'6", because that takes the truss into consideration. This building is going to be 600 feet back from the road, 300 feet from the closest property line, and it's pretty much surrounded by woods. I don't see an issue with anybody having a problem with the high roof line, because nobody's going to really see it. And then square footage, I was unaware that there was a limit on that, so for 12 square feet, I figured instead of getting new plans made up to make it smaller, I would just try for the variance on that.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Zulak, start with you. Any questions or comments?
What's the purpose of the building?
It's going to be to store equipment. We are going to use the property for agricultural. There's 2 big farm fields, if you want to call them that, and the barn is going to go in the front corner of the first field.
Okay. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions.
Mr. Starr.
Hey, Mr. Do you plan to run a tile business out of it?
I am going to run no business. I'm retired, and every time somebody asks me to help them, sometimes if I have time, I do that, but I'm not making...
You didn't just buy a tile business, did you?
I have a shirt that says, first it said I'm available when I retired. The next year I told my daughter, make me one that says not available, please, because everybody's calling. I mean, I'm not making any money other than my retirement.
I got no further questions. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Stop it.
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tillmans.
No questions, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't have any questions. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for this? Hearing none, we'll look for motion.
I'll make a motion. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Lancaster has made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief sought is not substantial, that the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect on the impact of physical environment conditions in the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is self-created, but not to the extent necessary to preclude the granting. That line has gotten me all night. Preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought. That this board is taking into consideration the benefit to the applicant if the variance relief sought is granted as weighted against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. That with the intended purposes of this ordinance, that the area variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Storr, second by Mr. Zulak. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Mendeselli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans?
Yes.
Mr. Zelak?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman Michael?
Yes. The variance has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you
Make
very
sure
much.
to stop in the building department.
Could I ask one question before I leave?
Yeah, of course.
How early can I come and see Matt tomorrow? I know you said your software is not working, but can I still stop in?
You could.
Because the builder wants to get moving as soon as possible.
We're going to make some preparations to accommodate all applicants until we're able to physically print the documents, but we could receive the application, the fee payment, mark it as being issued, and we can have those discussions. So anywhere between 8 and 12 tomorrow will be sufficient.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Might have permitted crane or something.
Yeah. Next up, 94 Maple. Mr. Renaud, would you please read the legal notice?
Seventh case considered by the Zoning Board of Appeals is that of the petition of Randy Schnorr, 94 Maple Drive, Bowmansville, New York, for 2 variances for the purpose of constructing a residential accessory structure on premises owned by Velma Jean Schnorr, 460 Pleasant View Drive, Lancaster, New York, at 94 Maple Drive, Bowmansville, New York, to wit: A variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning, Section 14, subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for constructing a 28-foot tall residential accessory structure. Chapter 400 zoning, Section 14, subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a maximum building height of an accessory structure of 16 feet. The petitioner therefore requests a 12-foot variance. B, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning Section 14, subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for constructing a 2,080 square foot residential accessory structure. Chapter 400 zoning Section 14, subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires a maximum accessory structure size of 750 square feet. The petitioner therefore requests a 1,330 square foot variance.
Thank you. Hello, sir. I don't want to be presumptuous. I assume you're Mr. Schmuck?
Yeah, Randy Schnorr, yeah. I work so much better with an audience, so everybody's left now.
Your address?
94 Maple Drive, Bowmansville, 14026.
Okay.
We had a barn that was there. It was like 25 by 35, and in the back was a higher roof that we have a Ford 555 backhoe that fit inside of there. A big willow tree fell on the barn. We had to take it down. We got a notice to either repair it or have it taken down. We took it down during COVID. We put a storage on the back of the garage to put the stuff from the barn in, which I got in trouble for that. So now we want to build the barn, put our backhoe tractors, everything we have there in there, and then take down the storage. So I've been working with Matt on that. And we just need a variance to build it big enough for the backhoe and to put our equipment in.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Monticello?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Starr?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt, are those tale of events accurate?
I'm sorry?
What he said, is that accurate?
Yes.
Barn was there, tree fell, all that?
Yep. Yeah, the barn was destroyed, additions were done, just a lot of things were done without permits.
The storage, yeah.
We've had countless meetings and discussions, all the requirements necessary. We are going to deal with the floodplain development in that area, so the building will be built compliant to floodplain standards.
I see nothing from the town engineer saying that that's a problem in the area. So, okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dudley. Any questions?
No. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine was actually answered about the floodplain, so thank you.
Tillman's?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's going to be similar size to what was taken down, or is it same size?
Well, the other barn was, I think, 25 by 35 approximately. Then there was a back area on where we actually had the backhoe, which had a higher roof on it.
Gotcha. Okay, so this will just fit the backhoe?
Yeah.
Okay. No further questions, thank you.
Mr. Zilla?
No questions.
Will you be running any commercial business out of the?
Tile business. I've been here the whole time, yeah, no.
We're going to run with that joke for a while. Anyone from the audience wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Zilak?
I'll make a motion. Whereas the Town Board of Appeals of the Town of Lancaster has made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by granting the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicants to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area relief is not substantial, that the proposed area relief will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is not self-created, but is not to the extent necessary to preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought, that this board has taken into consideration the benefit to the applicants if the variance relief sought is granted is weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant, that within the intent and purpose of this ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is minimum variance necessary to afford relief.
I'll second.
Can we add one more thing too, on the back page, for Homer Garage, which this is?
In addition to that, there's no commercial enterprise other than those permitted by Chapter 400 of the Code of Town of Lancaster will be conducted on the premises.
Thank you.
Yeah, no.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Zilak, second by Ms. Monticelli. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans?
Yes.
Mr. Zelik?
Yes.
Chairman Michael?
Yes. Congratulations, your
Thank
variance
you.
has been approved, and you've heard tonight the same
Okay.
Matt and Bill.
So I'm on vacation till next Monday.
Would be good.
You have until...
But I'll stop in then, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Schnur?
Thanks, guys.
Mr.
Good
Schnur?
night.
Sir, Mr. Sherman.
I just wondered, was your mother a foster mother at one time?
Yes,
Was
yes,
she?
yes. Yeah, Velma, yeah.
Yeah. The
Jean,
name's
everybody
not-
calls her Jean.
Okay, yeah.
My dad was, they called him the unofficial mayor of Pleasant View Drive, because he used to plow everybody's driveways
Oh,
out
bless
when he
his
was
heart.
alive, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
a caseworker back then.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, the golf course was still there then, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, God bless you guys, have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, sir.
sir.
Good night. Next up, number 8, 5 Pear Tree Lane. Mr. Terreno, would you please read the legal notice?
The eighth case considered by the zoning board of appeals was that of the petition of John Dujak, 5 Pear Tree Lane, Lancaster, New York, for one variance for the purpose of installing an emergency backup generator on premises owned by the petitioner at 5 Pear Tree Lane, Lancaster, New York, to wit, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning section 14 subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for installing an emergency backup generator 2 feet from the side property line. Chapter 400 zoning section 14 subsection D, Schedule B of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires that a non-portable exterior heating or air conditioning structures and generators shall not be located within 5 feet of any lot line. The petitioner therefore requests a 3-foot variance.
Thank you, sir. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, John Dujak, 5 Pear Tree Lane, Lancaster, 14086.
Thank you. Please tell us about your project.
I'm just, as the clerk said, putting in an emergency generator. I had Stitzmans out from Alden to survey the situation where it was going to go, and really the only place it can go is to the left of the front of my house, right in that particular area. Right to the right of that is where all the electrical and gas lines are in the basement.
Okay. And I see we have a letter here from your neighbor, Nicholas Herziko, or am I going to pronounce that correctly, Herzko, saying he has no issue with it, and he's the neighbor to the left?
He's
one
the
on
neighbor,
side?
if you're facing my home, immediate to the left, which would be the only neighbor impacted, if at all.
Got
And his garage, if I could note, Mr. Chair, is immediate to the right of where this generator would go. So it, you know, it's, you got the garage and then his living quarters.
Okay.
You have a lot of space. I drove by this yesterday, I believe. Actually, I know I did. You have a lot of space between you and the neighbor to your right because they are around the bend.
Truthfully, if I have a survey, I have less space on that side.
Oh, okay.
It's a pie shaped in that area. It's very deceiving.
is it? Okay.
But yeah, and
Because I know that they have a fence up,
correct.
so it makes it look like,
Yeah. And it's a
I mean,
pie
it makes it look like you have a lot more space.
Yeah,
but-
you would think it's a pie shape, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, and then, like I said, the gas line and electric is all on the other side of the house, so.
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans, any questions?
No questions right now. Thank you.
I'm sorry, that's okay. Mrs. Zilak, any questions?
No questions.
Ms. Monticelli?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Stewart?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Duffy, any other questions?
No, I apologize for skipping in.
Oh, no need to apologize, that's fine. I have no questions or comments. Audience, any questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll do the motion. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Lancaster has made the following findings, that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief is not substantial, that the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is not self-created, that this board has taken into consideration the benefit to the applicants if, excuse me, if the variance relief sought is granted is weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant, that within the intent and purposes of this ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum necessary to afford relief.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Monticelli, second by Mr. Storr. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans?
Yes.
Mr. Zeller?
Yes.
Chairman Michael?
Yes.
Go Sabres.
I'm here instead of at the game, but thank you for consideration, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Jack. Make sure to stop in with Matt before starting any work.
Between 8 and 12, but we won't come right away, Matt. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good night. Next up, number 9 is 1 Jonquil Court.
Last case
Sorry. I was thinking, no, right.
Last case considered by the zoning board of appeals is that of the petition of Nicole Ruth Stutz, 1 Jonquil Court, Lancaster, New York, for one variance for the purpose of installing a fence on premises owned by the petitioners at 1 Jonquil Court, Lancaster, New York, to wit, a variance from the requirements of Chapter 400 zoning, Section 34, subsection C of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. The request calls for installing a 6-foot fence in a required front yard. Chapter 400 zoning, Section 34, subsection C of the Code of the Town of Lancaster requires within non-industrial districts no fence or wall other than a necessary retaining wall over 3 feet in height shall extend into the front yard of any lot. The petitioners therefore request a 3-foot variance.
Thank you. Hi, please give your name and address for the record.
Nicole Stutz, 1 Jonquil Court, Lancaster 14086.
Bruce Stutz, 1 Jonquil Court, Lancaster, New York.
Just tell us about your project.
Okay. So we put an in-ground pool in our backyard, and we put a wrought iron fence kind of like right around the pool. We're right on the corner of Jonquil and Juniper. We have a huge yard like on the side that we don't use because unfortunately, as you know, that area is so built up and there's 8 million houses back there now. That walkway, walking up and down Juniper, is like people with dogs and, you know, walking all the time, constantly. We feel like we don't really have any privacy anymore. We have a little dog. If you know anything about little dogs, they love to bark. My dog's always barking at people walking by. And we just feel like we have a nature preserve also across the street. We've had a rabid raccoon swimming in our pool. We've had yes, the police came and took care of that.
Yeah, terminated.
Yes, they did. We've had a snapping turtle in our backyard. We would just like to put up a fence. The people behind us got a wrought iron fence, and their fence is next to the sidewalk, 30 inches in. We would actually just like to connect it to their fence, which they agreed to. They said that was totally fine. But we want to do a privacy one, just for more privacy. We just have a lot of people walking in our backyard, and it's just, I don't know. We've actually had people walk right up on our lawn to our wrought iron fence and go, wow, nice backyard. Yeah. Have had that like 3 times.
Thank you. I'm not sure where we're starting more. Mr. Tillmans, we'll start with you.
I have no questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have no questions, Chair. Thank you.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
You're lucky you got us when we're tired.
No questions.
Sister, I have no questions. And Ms. Dudley?
I don't have any questions. I guess maybe I have more of a statement. When you put this new fence up, are your children going to be upset that the nature from across the street's not going to be in the backyard anymore?
No, I don't think so. Because the night that raccoon was in our pool, it was almost till 2 a.m. We were trying to get it out.
My son was live streaming the raccoon and taking pictures of him.
Swimming, and we just
he ended up in our pool filter.
Yeah.
Or the area, the smaller area.
Like it was hiding in there. We could not get him out, and then the police were. Luckily, they took care of it the next morning.
Took care of it.
Yeah. They did.
But no other questions.
You think there are anyone in the audience? I think there are none. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Lancaster has made the following findings: that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that no detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance relief sought, that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicants to pursue other than the area variance relief sought, that the requested area variance relief is not substantial, that the proposed area variance relief will not have an adverse effect or impact the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district, that the alleged difficulty is self-created, but not to the extent necessary to preclude the granting of the area variance relief sought, that this board has taken into consideration the benefit to the applicants if the variance relief sought is granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant, that within the intent and purposes of this ordinance, that this ordinance, the variance relief sought, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief, and that such fence will not unduly shut out light or air to adjoining properties, and that such fence will not create a fire hazard by reason of its construction or location.
I'll second that. Motion by Ms. Dudley, second by me. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Monticelli?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Mrs. Studley?
Yes.
Mr. Tillmans?
Yes.
Mr. Salick?
Yes.
Chairman Michaely?
Yes. Thank you. The variance has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As you heard, you stopped in with the building department, and as you know, there's currently software having issues.
Got it. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
No hiding towel behind that fence.
Okay.
Anybody else, any business? Motion to adjourn?
May I?
Oh, Matt, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry to keep us longer than expected, but I do want to point out, as I mentioned earlier, our sign code needs help, a lot of help.
Say it again.
Sign code,
Needs a lot
yeah,
of
sign
help.
code, it's fairly old.
Okay.
And past practice have created nonconformities. The nonconformities that are out there, signs go up over the weekend. It's very difficult to tell somebody, I'm sorry, I can't issue you a building permit for your sign that's gonna look exactly like the one that's next door to you because of X, Y, and Z. We show up here tonight and we grant variance. Again, I've said this before, that's a key indicator there's something wrong with the code.
Yeah.
Every application is approved without question, there's something wrong with the code. So, that being said, at Monday night's meeting, they're entertaining public hearing to adopt a moratorium for specific construction projects in an attempt to relook at the zoning code. That's going to be an opportune time for the town to look at the code and make a wholesale change. It's cost effective to do it that way. So not only are we looking at zoning districts, design standards, but there's other portions of the code that need to be updated. Signs are huge. We saw tonight with the pole barns, we did an increase at the last change. Does it warrant another increase? But maybe, maybe not, but it does warrant another look at accessory structures related to the individual zoning districts. Where'd my train of thought go now? Okay, well, at any rate, whether or not a moratorium is adopted, the town is in a position to get a good hard look at our existing zoning code. I urge at least one member of this board to participate on a committee that is having that discussion. I know I've been requested as a resource to speak on certain topics, but I think it's really important rather than, losing time frames, the 30-day notification, what have you, for residents that want to complete their projects, to go through the process just for the sake of going through a process when it's going to be granted anyways. So one more time, it's pretty important that we all participate in the
And they're discussing that on the 16th?
identification. I'm sorry?
They're bringing that up on the 16th?
Well, Monday is the public hearing for it's a moratorium specifically geared towards projects with the end result of amending the zoning code, the design standards, the permitted uses, what have you. So that could segue into other changes. So as I mentioned earlier, the comprehensive plan was adopted in 2018 after an extensive study, an exercise, public hearings, workshops, all sorts of things to get public input that's going to help plan out the future of build out of the town, the future uses of the town. So we're at that sunset phase of that comprehensive plan. It's not a bad idea to get that current, measure what we did in 5 years, and lay out what we're going to do in the next 5 to 10 years. And that's going to help with making amendments to the zoning code. not to put this board out of business, but it's abnormal to have this many applicants request relief from a zoning code, and 100% of them are approved. Again, that's an indication that there's something wrong with the code.
Yeah. When zoning was modified in 2020, was the signage not addressed?
It was not at the time.
Okay.
And most municipalities deal with signage separately because it's a huge ball that has to be looked at. There are some constitutional rights that you have to keep in mind with freedom of speech and, property uses. So it was mentioned, but it was never fully completed because of the time frame and the parameters that were outlined. The comp plan was done through a county grant. The zoning code happened within 2 years after that. And again, it went through an extensive process to get to where we are today. And now we're just looking to measure it, maybe fine tune it a little bit better to help these developers and residents understand, how to design their projects. We did make some excellent improvements with the lot sizes in the AR district. Last year, we increased residential lot sizes. So it's going to increase the lot widths and the corner lot sizes, so you don't have the shed too close to the property line, because people will have ample amount of room in the yards to accommodate the pools and sheds and other structures.
Great, great. Emily, thank you for your help tonight.
Of course.
Diane, anything to add?
Nope.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved.
Would that be the time to bring?
I paused because I thought
Time
he
to
was
the front
saying I
yard
didn't
issue?
need to read that.
In
That's
my
why I was like,